My name is Chris Wall, and I am the producer on the Wingfeather Saga project, and I've been working on this now for 3 years, over 3 years with Andrew. And we wanted to take time today to talk about a number of things, and I'm going to tell you what we'll do. But before we do that, I wanted to ask, and so I am, Andrew and I own Shining Isle Productions. That's what we created to make all of this fun stuff. Clever name, right? I'm very excited about that. We wrestled a long time trying to figure that name. All right, so here's a question. Raise your hand if you have read the Wingfeather Saga books. Raise your hand if you've read the Wingfeather Saga books. Fantastic. Okay, hands down. Raise your hand if you were a part of our Kickstarter campaign that we did a couple years ago. Awesome, okay. My kids all raise their hand. Raise your hand if you have seen our short film that we produced last year. Awesome, okay. So we were talking about whether we needed to watch the film together. If you haven't seen the film, we're gonna spoil it, I'm sorry. We're gonna not take the 15 minutes to watch that, if that's all right with everybody, okay? I would love to watch it with you all again, but we're gonna jump right into some other things. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do over the next little bit. So we're gonna break it out in a couple chunks. We're gonna talk about the inception of bringing this to life visually and some of the thoughts we had and adapting it from the books that we had read and loved. And we're gonna talk extensively about that process. Then the execution of that, bringing that to life in animation and what we did there. We'll spend a chunk of time on that. And then we're gonna spend a chunk of time on what's next, what we're working on right now. It's been quiet, we haven't announced much, but today we're announcing some pretty exciting things in this room for the first time. And then it will go out to our backers and some other places later today. So you can hear it first. Awesome! Those other sessions don't get any of that. We're gonna finish with a questionnaire. So you're gonna get to participate. And it will be in response to some of the things we're gonna present today. That we're going to ask for your honest feedback. We'd love it if you would take the time to do so and drop it in our little blue bowl over there. If you don't want to, that's fine too. It's not that many questions. All right. So again, my name is Chris. I was first introduced to the Wingfeather Saga. Actually, Sky, is she in here? Sky in here? Peterson? Okay, so Sky asked me this last night at dinner. She said, when did you meet Papa? And it was, I hired him to write a silly song for VeggieTales back in 2006. And then a couple of years later, now 10 years ago, he said, hey, I wrote a book and handed it to me. And I was like, oh, that's so very nice. I'm sure it's lovely. And so we took it home and read it, and I just, oh my gosh, I loved it so much. It was great. And read it with my older kids. At the time, Calvin and Elijah back there, hi boys, were too young, and we excused them because it was a little too scary. And I was like, yeah, we'll get back to you later. And so we just actually read it together last year. And it had just as much impact on Papa trying to read it without crying as it did the first time. And so I approached Andrew in 2015 and said, hey, what do you want to do with Wingfeather Saga? Like we talked about it. Do you want to make something with this thing? And he said, yeah. So do you want to partner together? So traditionally in film approaches like this, one might option rights. You hear about that term a lot, which is where a producer like myself would say, hey, I'll pay you a bit of money if you'll take it off market and let me exclusively have access to develop it. Of which I get to do whatever I want with it. You get to check in from time to time, and there's different arrangements that one could make with that. I didn't want that. I wanted to partner with Andrew. I wanted to make this thing as close to the DNA of what we all experience in the books as we could on the screen while making it new. And so he said, yeah, sounds great, let's do it. And so off we went, and we've had a wonderful adventure since. As you all know, we did a Kickstarter. You were all part of that, many of you. And then shortly after that, we're ready to start into production and starting to visualize the world. And along came the wonderful world of Instagram. And we were introduced via a Facebook post of a person who didn't attend a session but heard about a guy that we should meet called Nicholas Kole. And so we reached out to this Nicholas Kole and said, hey, we have this project we're working on. It's kind of a strange one. Would you be interested? And he kind of poked around in it and came back with, yes, absolutely. This is right up my alley. I would love to be a part of this. So can we get together? And so Nicholas joined on, and I think we had you read some of the first book to start off, right?
Yeah.
Is that right? Like I said, you should probably get to know this way. And he did, and came back with, okay, I love it. Let's start thinking about what this world looks like. And then let's see, where did we first jump off? Was it into characters?
Yeah, for sure. The principal cast was really
Okay, so let's talk about, and what we're going to try to do, here's the thing about Hutchmoot that I love, and I've had the pleasure of being a part of it for the whole time, is that we're not going to give you a bunch of technical, like how to kind of, it's the spirit of it. So what we were hopeful to communicate in this time together is the emotions we experienced because of Andrew's story, the emotions that then we wanted to transfer through the art we were creating to you and then onward. So we're going to talk more in that context. After the session, if you want to talk to us about some of the more technical stuff, we'll get into that. But just know that's kind of the spirit of what we're doing here, okay? So don't frustrate you. So in that spirit, we were like, what is this place going to look like? What's its texture? What's its? And we had a nice little collage of material. I can pull some of it up here. That our director. Oh, so Tom Owens is our director. He was not able to be here today. I'm not kidding. You can come look at my phone after to prove it. Sorry I can't be there, but Def Leppard. True story. Tom, come out to Hutchmoot. You can bring pencils. Oh, that'd be fantastic. I'd love to come to Hutchmoot, except I have tickets to Def Leppard. But he does. So anyway, no, and he had a high school unit thing, the whole thing. So Tom's not here. Other big member of our team, and Keith Lango, who I think some of you met 2 years ago. He was with us. Was planning to be here. Nicholas is wearing his name tag. You can find that out there. But he couldn't be here because of family issues, so missing him. But we have Nicholas here. So Tom did some initial work that got us going. We're talking about the beginning of all things.
I have literally 5 minutes.
Oh, you have to go? Okay.
Mm.
So
I didn't know if you wanted.
Let's juncture you in here.
Okay.
So we're talking about when we first began to visualize the world and thinking about what it would look like, and brought in Nicholas Kole. Let's talk about what you were thinking and hoping and feeling at that moment, because it was obviously a bit of a precipice.
Yeah. I was thinking, whoever we hire and however this works, I hope it's way better than anything I could come up with. That's what I was thinking. I had zero real anxiety. I just remember thinking, like right off the bat, Tom had come up with the idea of the chasm that went through the middle of the town. So what you're seeing right there is not in my books. It's way cooler than what's in my books. And so right off the bat, I was like, this is going to be a blast, because the more we bring good creative minds into it, they're going to augment things in the world. And so that's what was going through my mind. Mm-hmm. Does that answer your question?
Including, I think I have that old map from Tom. So I have some cool stuff to show you guys as we go along here. But this was Tom's initial approach on how this all should work. Yeah. Very simple, but he had this really cool idea about what Liquid might be. Some of you read the books, and it was a little western town, that kind of thing. Tom was immediately like, yeah, but what if it was, and he was hovering around the idea of the Dragon Festival and people wanting to be near the edge to see this. Wouldn't that be like a Niagara Falls kind of thing? And so the town, changed. Yeah. And I'll make a note here. So I mentioned to these folks just before you walked in that, in 2015, when we got together and said, hey, do you want to partner on this? Part of the risk as a producer of doing that is that he could be terrible to work with. Okay, a lot of authors are, that they love their work so precious that they can't possibly change it, which every jot and tittle, which turns into, unfortunately, really derivative work on screen, often. And we've all seen those movies. But what I had already learned about Andrew is he's very collaborative and very giving. And so this was one of those first things. Hey, what if Liquid was different than what it was said in the books? And I know there's maps already and that there's drawings, but what if it was different? And you said, yeah,
sure, yeah. And part of that is because I'm a songwriter mainly, is that I had years of practice taking an idea that was very precious to me as a song, and then in the end seeing that inviting other people into the process actually makes the thing way better than you could have done here. So I think that's there's a certain line I won't cross, creatively, where I'm like, no, we can't do that. But outside of that boundary, go for it, which is a blast. One other thing I would say really quick before I have to go, sorry, is that it was fascinating to me that the difference between writing a book and making a film is that you have to zero in on so many details. Like Nicholas, when he first started sending ideas, character design ideas, he had read all 4 of the books, and so he had all of the characters in his brain, and there were little tiny details about like the kind of cloth that Nia might wear, or the fact that I think Poto's leg, his stump had like scribbles on it and carvings on it and stuff. that maybe the kids had done.
Because you mentioned the books that Lily and Poto would carve into the wood in the house, and things would have this sort of flower.
And so there were little things, and I was like, that's something that in the books I never had to think about. And so when I describe the town of Glipwood in the books, it's just kind of this, in my mind, a vague, I have an image of like an Old West town with lizard guys, and I would get kind of specific about intersections or whatever, but then when you start seeing the character design and you start seeing the environments of like the inside of Oscar's bookstore, like the filmmakers and the artists have to like actually go, well, no, how tall is this person? And what color is their beard? How much actual facial hair does this person have? And so the whole world gets like zoomed into like much more focus than you do as an author, which I think is amazing. Like I'm kind of astonished by that. And so that's like, again, it was another way for me to just go, oh gosh, this is going to be so much better than something